On ahead, Karen.
Okay, welcome along. My name is Karen Joyner. I'm the current chair of the Departmental Organisation and Membership Committee. So just to give you a little bit of context as to why we're here today, and hopefully over the next three sessions as well. The Departmental Organisation and Membership Committee was set up to provide a focus on organisation and membership matters across the department as a subcommittee of the wider DFC committee. So it doesn't act instead of the DFC committee, but proposes ideas and activities which the DFC committee then decides on what's going to be done and sets the direction of activities. So as a subcommittee, we decided that there were 4 priorities for us, and they are recruiting new staff, recruiting agency workers, increasing female participation, and building branch committees. So Dooley's going to go briefly go through the presentation that he gave at conference to let you know how what's been happening with that, just to bring you up to date. Great presentation. He's not going to take too long at it, so if you've seen it at conference, it's not the full show as such. But the thing is that these 4 training seminars that was set up, they're not to tell you what to do, but they're here to help you as branch organisers. And help you to understand what it is that you do as a branch organizer. But it's a two-way street. As I say, we're not here to tell you what to do. This is participation, and we need you to participate in it and talk to us about it. And ask questions. And that as well. But we need you to be honest, both with yourself and with us, because we're going to talk about setting priorities for your branch. And we, as a subcommittee, organisation membership, we can't do that for you. We can't set your branch priorities. You have to see what your branch priorities are for you and your branch. So that's why you need to be honest with yourself about thinking about what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So that's really important, that you understand we're not here to tell you what to do. We're hopefully here to guide you, but also it's about networking as well, so that you know who the people are that you can come to talk to about things if you need any help, and that's really important. We're here to support you. Okay, so I think that covers everything. We're going to go through. Hopefully, you'll get something out of this and the other 3 meetings as well, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and we'll all be better for it. But I'm going to hand over to Dooley. Dooley's going to go through the presentation and then do some of the information. Okay, Dooley, away you go. You're on mute, Dooley. Okay.
Thanks very much, Karen. Sorry, now I've hit share. I can't get the presentation button to put this on. That's there. Okay, folks. As Karen says, first of all, welcome. My name is Dooley Hart. I'm the headquarters official with responsibility for Department for Communities. This was a presentation that we give, that I give on behalf of the Organisation and Membership Committee to the annual delegate conference. I'm not going to do the full presentation. We're going to run through it very quickly here. But it's just to set you out some background of, as Karen has said, of how we've got here. You'll see that the DFC committee was constituted in April last year. We set up the Organisation and Membership Subcommittee. That had its first meeting in August. We agreed to terms of reference. The priorities were agreed by the committee in September 21. Karen's already set out some of those priorities. Can I just make reference to the increased female participation? There's currently a survey out with all the female members, and we would encourage all branches to ensure that their female members participate in this survey. It's really critical to inform us about where we are and how we're going to take that issue forward. So we have, as part of this process, there were a number of things that we knew that we needed to do We wanted a long-term plan with achievable objectives so that we could build for the future. We didn't want a short-term plan where we do something for 2 weeks and then forget about this. We wanted to review how we communicated with members. We wanted to look at the publicity materials, what was used previously, and to develop new materials. We wanted to better support branches in the work that they do, but also, and this was a real fundamental for us, was to enhance and support the branch organisers, which this training on awareness, these 4 sessions are part of that process. There were some things that we knew we couldn't do. We knew we couldn't do everything at once. We knew that we couldn't impose our ideas on the DFC committee or on branch committees, that we had to work collectively in order to move this forward. We certainly didn't want to ignore what others had done before, and that would inform how we move forward. And as I've said, we didn't want to set short-term goals and then forget about organising. We wanted to do this as a long-term and continuous plan. This is an example of some of the stuff that we've done. We are reviewing the online application process. That involves NIPSA headquarters and not just us, so not just this department. So we don't have complete control over that, but we have made a number of suggestions, and we are working with headquarters in order to improve an online application process that makes it easier for non-members to join NIPSA. We wanted to produce an induction package. Not all branches will do induction, but some do. And one of the big areas that we have at the minute where we don't have a high percentage of members is with agency workers. So the induction package has a focus on agency workers as well. We wanted to, as I said, look at the publicity around new posters. We've been working to produce videos, and that again will be an ongoing process. We're looking at developing DFC social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. A lot of those words mean nothing to me, so I'm relying very much on others as part of that. But that is something that we want to do as well. We have the awareness sessions, and then we have issues around communications as well. That's an example of the induction package that will be issued out, and branches can pick and choose what they use as part of that process. Some will be relevant, some won't. But we still some work to do. We want to continue to develop a video library. We want to continue to produce new artwork across all the platforms. We've been pushing to try and get a NIPSA app. Again, that needs to be built on our the IT platform for our membership, which is being upgraded. There's a delay in getting that up, but it's one of the things we're very keen to get done. We are looking at these training and refresher training for branch organisers, and then the objective of this process is that we want the plan for an autumn-winter departmental-wide campaign led by branch organisers, supported by the DFC committee, supported by the organisation and membership subcommittee, supported by seconded officers, that will look at recruitment, organising, and communications. But that those plans will be for branches to decide, not for us to impose. Kieran's point that he made is very clear. This is not a top-down instruction process. It can't be, because different branches have different requirements. It is very much led by organisers, but it's not the branch organiser that has sole responsibility for this. It has to be a branch committee responsibility, led by organisers and supported by others. And then what have we learned out of this process is that we need a long-term plan. Try things. We have tried a number of things. Some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. So look, if it fails, dust yourself down, try something else. We want to prioritise branch organisers. We currently have 38 branches in DFC. We have 21 organisers. We have about 11 organisers committed to this process. Some of them can attend all of these sessions. Some of them can only attend some of them. A couple of organisers have sent apologies to say they're on leave for 2 weeks and can't attend any of them. So, but we want to prioritise branch organisers, and we're looking at how best we can do that. We have to bring everyone with us. That includes the committee, the branch committee, seconded officers, the organisers. We need to be pushing all in the same direction. We're very clear in saying that we need to plan some more, and then give the thing a go and see. There's no such thing as a bad idea in this. We have had a number of ideas that haven't worked out, but some of those have led us on to do other things that have actually worked out, and so there's a process attached to that. And of course, that this is just the start of a process. There's much more that needs to be done, and we need to make sure that the support we give branch organisers continues. So that's where a quick run through of where we've come from and where we've got to as part of this process, folks. Karen, back to you. Do you want to maybe just lead us in then to?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Dooley. And it gives us a fairly clear picture. You know, I mean, obviously there's a lot of work's being done and a lot of work still to be done. But and this is where, you know, obviously, as Dooley has said in the presentation there, we all have to be on the same page and doing, you know, working together to achieve what we want to achieve. And obviously, the branch has been, the department has been in place for 7 years, but because the DFC committee was only formed last year, there hasn't been any focus on any organisation or recruitment across the department for a very, very long time. So this is why this was set as we decided this was a major priority for us. You know, because so much has changed, so many people have moved on, so many there are new people in to the department, or more specifically onto committees and things. So it's all about a learning process, and that's very important to us, that you know, everybody has the skills and knowledge to achieve what we want to achieve, and that is obviously, you know, recruitment, because as big as the department, I mean, obviously we're the biggest department. We've got about 5,000 members, but the department is growing, and you know, there's around about 9,500 staff in the department. So a lot of that is recruitment agency staff, and we need to look at you know, recruiting them as well. So it is really important, and you know, obviously this is just a process, but hopefully, as I said earlier, you'll all get something out of it, and we'll go forward together. Okay, so we were hoping to have Deborah Whitford from headquarters to give us a bit of a presentation on what the membership section in headquarters does for us, but unfortunately she's not been able to be with us today. So we're going to let Dooley go ahead with and hear some more from Dooley about that. Okay.
Right. Thanks, Karen. Folks, as Karen says, unfortunately Deborah had committed to attending the meeting, but due to personal circumstances hasn't been able to. So today's focus, each of the sessions is looking at different things. Today we're looking at membership and mapping. On Thursday we're going to be looking at communications. Then next week we're going to be looking at organising your branch committee, and then the last session is about how to develop a recruitment campaign. And the objective of all of these processes, they all overlap. The objective of all of these processes is to set out some of the things that we think organisers should be looking at, to provide them some support about or some information about what support is out there to help them in that process, and to give you a better platform that when we get to the autumn, when we're developing this campaign across the department, organisers will be in a better place in order to look at their own branch and develop a plan for that. You're not going to do that on your own. We'll come to that when we get to week 4. You'll not be doing that on your own. You'll be supported through that process as well. So it's not just a case of doing these and then leaving you and not providing ongoing support. We will continue to support you throughout the rest of the year. But look, the focus today, as Karen says, is around membership and mapping. So we'll start off with the membership aspect of it. One of the responsibilities of branch organisers is to look at your membership lists. Those membership lists are obviously critical. Keeping them updated is critical. I mean, if we're doing a ballot for industrial action, that ballot, or the ballot, is issued to the information that's retained at NIPSA headquarters on the system. So if someone is, if that information is not up to date, or if someone has left the union and we send them out a ballot, or if someone has left your branch and that's not recorded in NIPSA headquarters, those people can be missed as part of that. So the information contained within the membership list is critically important. It's important for the branch to have an understanding where it is. Obviously, if you've recruited more members, attendance at conference, or the number of people that can attend conference, is governed by your membership on the 31st of December. So it's important that those membership lists are as up to date as what they possibly can be for a whole lot of reasons. But one of the main reasons as well is that branches will communicate with members based on the information contained within the lists. So if your list is not up to date, then we are missing out on members who we should be engaging with. So we wanted to have a chat with you just about the membership lists, about accessing them, about looking at storage, deletion, GDPR issues, and then just to talk a wee bit about the role of NIPSA membership section. Now, I had a bit of a chat when we knew that Deborah wasn't coming today. We had a wee bit of a chat around this issue. Membership section is very clear. It was previously the case that only the branch secretary could have access to the membership list, and then the branch secretary then would have passed that information on to the branch organizer. The branch organizer can have access to the membership list and should have access to the membership list, should be leading in relation to making sure the membership list is kept up to date. Now, that doesn't mean you need to work in isolation on that, but you can have access to the membership list. It's a matter of ensuring that you, as part of your AGM returns, that you are recorded as the branch organizer. And then if you make a request in writing to the membership section for the membership list, those lists will be provided to you. The question then becomes is, like all personal information, is the importance around the storage, deletion, and the GDPR implications of you having access to that information. Once that information is provided to you, then you are responsible for it. So therefore, it is important that you store that information securely. Now, the information is sent off from membership section with its password protected, but you need to be careful about where you actually store that information on to make sure that other people can't have access to it. I know that some organizers, some reps would actually, although the list is password protected, they would save it in a file that's also password protected in order to try and ensure that no one can get access to it, and that is protected. The other issue around is then who you pass that information on to. For example, if the branch secretary contacts you or the branch chair contacts you and says, can you send me on the membership list? You have to ask the question about why that person wants the list. Now, members of the committee can access or get access to the membership list, providing we can stand over a justifiable reason for them having access. If they're just nosying about, then that's not a justifiable reason. And if a member come to us and said, actually, do you know what, you passed my personal details on to Joe Blogs without my permission, then we need to make sure we can say there's a justifiable reason for doing so. Now, updating membership lists, engaging in a recruitment campaign, organizing, that's all legitimate work that branch committees, branch organizers, officers do on behalf of NIPSA. So we can stand over that from a GDPR perspective, as long as there's a legitimate purpose. If you don't ask the question, then you don't get the answer, and therefore it's more difficult to stand over. So there is nothing wrong, and in fact, we would encourage you to make sure that if you're sharing this information with other members of the committee or anyone else, that you ask the question, or you certainly at least record the reason why that information is being shared with that person, because there has to be a justifiable reason for it. And that's where we come in under GDPR. Sometimes people think that GDPR means you're not allowed to send personal information. That's not correct. It means that personal information is protected, but it can be shared for legitimate business reasons. And recruitment and organizing is a legitimate business reason for this union. Now, GDPR makes a specific reference to people being protected as to others knowing whether they're a union member or whether they're not a union member. Obviously, if someone gets an access to a list of union members, they're also able to identify those people that are not union members. So therefore, a non-union member, if information was shared, could make a complaint under GDPR to say that their personal information was made available because they were identified as not belonging to a union. So we just need to be careful when we're sharing any information about members or members lists or groups of members as part of that process. But if you have a legitimate business reason for doing so, then you are protected under GDPR. So it's a matter of storing it properly and safely, sharing it for legitimate business reasons, and then making sure that you delete your records appropriately. Membership section will send out updated lists. Once you get the updated list, then if you have a previous list, you may wish to delete that previous list, because once you get the updated list, then the previous list is not relevant to you. And therefore the issues under GDPR will say is that you only retain information where there's a legitimate business reason for doing so. So once you get an updated list, I wouldn't say it immediately, because there might be a piece of work to look at the new list and look at the old list and try and identify who's come off it or who's come onto it. So, but after a period of time, you should be deleting the old lists as well. So there has to be a process for you. If you get access to the membership list as an organizer, you have to have safe storage. You have to protect who has access to that information, and then you need to delete that information. And as long as you're safely doing that, then there is no risk to you, no risk to this union of any breach of GDPR. Can I just add as well, which is one of the things that I wanted Deborah to cover here, which is unfortunately she can't. And if we can get her back in some of the later sessions, we maybe will bring her back in as well, just to have a chat around this. I wanted her to go through and explain to organisers what other things the membership section at NIPSA headquarters can do to help support branches. If a branch organizer has difficulty contacting members, then membership section can issue correspondence out to members, send emails out or whatever. There's different services that membership section can do, and different work and research that membership section can do. For example, if as part of our objective to increase female participation, membership section may be able to provide information, for example, on, how many people under 35, for example, are members, or how many female members do we have in a particular area, rather than you, especially in the larger branches. If you're in CMS or you're in PIP and you have 500 and 600 members, it's very difficult to sit down and go through all those lists and pick them out. Whereas if you contact membership section, because they have access to the IT, they can get that information for you far quicker. So there's a resource there to use within the membership section to assist you as part of the work you have going forward. It doesn't always require you sitting and going down each list and ticking people off to get information. A phone call or an email through the membership section can sometimes get the information far, far quicker, and a whole lot less hassle for you, and a whole lot less time consuming for you. So there is a role for membership section there as part of the work to do going forward, especially for the larger branches. If you're in a branch with 30 or 40 members, it may be quicker for you to go just down the list yourself and check it off. But if you're in a branch with hundreds of members, it sometimes that becomes more time consuming. So there is a resource there. Lift the phone to membership section, have a chat with them. They will try and help and support you as much as you can as part of that. I'm happy if anybody has any questions. I'm not sure I'll be able to answer them, but we can certainly take them away and get answers for you and bring them back to the next meeting.
Yes, Emmett.
Sorry, I just want to ask you a question. When I have done an induction for members, new members that are working in the workplace, and I forward the application, the online application, and they complete that application, and then I send it on to NIPSA headquarters for processing, can I add their names to my list that they are members?
Yes, our position's clear is once someone's signed the application form, then they're a member from that date. The other administrative aspects of it will be done as quickly as possible thereafter, where the person's officially added to the record, where they're sent out their membership card and stuff. All of that will happen later. But yes, absolutely, add them to your list, your contact list, and engage with them as part of that process. Absolutely.
Just one other quick thing, Tony. I've done an induction there last week, and one of the new starts as an agency worker, and they were making a query that they have another part-time job in the caring sector, and they're a member of Unison. Now, can they join NIPSA?
Absolutely. And in fact, Emmett, I have worked in other areas for the union, especially in education, where the way the education sector works, for example, is they actually have a number of contracts with the education authority. They don't have one contract, so they might work as a classroom assistant, a lunchtime supervisor, and a school crossing patrol person. It's 3 separate contracts, so they have to be a NIPSA member for all 3 contracts.
Right.
But there is no problem. What we will do in that process, obviously, we can't represent them in the health service because they're not a NIPSA member, but they're a NIPSA member for the purposes of their work within the Department for Communities, and absolutely they should be a member, and we can represent them, and they can continue to be a member. I mean, I know a number of people, including myself, are a member of 2 unions at NIPSA headquarters. And, you know, people are members of both GMB and Unite, because we as employees, we can't be NIPSA members. It's not possible to be a NIPSA member and an employee, but people are members of a number of different unions, so there's no issue with that at all.
So they can join. So they can be 2 unions.
But as long as they're aware, we can only represent them on those matters that affect them within the Department for Communities. We can't assist them on anything in the health service because they're not a member with us in the health service.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you, Doug.
Okay, Tina.
Thanks, Karen. It was just when Emmett is talking about inductions, it kind of reminded me that I've heard of a few areas that aren't holding inductions in their areas. So if you're an organizer and you need to get some sort of relationship going with your management, so you know when new staff are being brought into your area, and if there's been an induction, to be part of that induction, and if they don't have an induction, ask for the details of this new member of staff, so that then you can approach them to try and do your own induction for NIPSA as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that'll be one of the things we'll be touching on hopefully on Thursday as part of communications as well, is about the engagement with management. It is important to engage with your management, especially around induction, because you might not know who the new staff are coming in, but you have every right to approach those staff and ask them to join NIPSA. So therefore, there has to be some relationship with the employer to say, when new staff come in, that you are informed as a matter of course, in the same way other managers, HR is informed, whatever it is, that you are informed as a matter of course, so you have the opportunity to go and talk to that people if there's no formal induction process. And sometimes actually the formal induction process might take place to weeks and weeks down the line, and it might actually be better to talk to the person when they're, when they've been brought in. Sometimes that can be done face to face if the person's in the building and so's the rep. Sometimes it can be done online. There's nothing wrong with lifting the phone or sending a Teams request to somebody and say, could I have a yarn with you? We just need to look at different ways of communicating with non-members. It's one of the things we'll touch on as part of next week, is about communication with non-members.
Okay, thanks. Melanie?
Yes, just I was, you know, the way we were talking about young people and all that, their preference is everything digital. They love apps, and they love anything where they can just do it online. So you see this, the process is, I find there's a massive variance between whenever you're in the room and they all want to join, and then the actual joining process, because another issue was that whenever we're sending them up, because of the way the standing order is structured, sometimes the bank sees it as a 1 month deduction, and they just take that 1 month and that's it. And then for whatever reason, we're not finding out until they've kind of dropped off the list. But at that point, they still think they're members, they've got their card and everything like that there. So it's through no fault of theirs, but to try and keep that, sort of try and be on the ball with that, it's quite difficult. And another thing is e-signatures. Like last night I applied for a credit card and all I needed was an e-signature. So why do we have to have actual signatures of people? You know, in this age, that just doesn't happen anywhere else.
It's look, Melanie, I can absolutely guarantee that the clear frustration that's coming across on both of these issues is shared by this committee, and that NIPSA headquarters is fully aware of that. I mean, yeah, we have been hitting our head off. Now, there are difficulties, some within the control of NIPSA headquarters and some not, as part of this. At NIPSA headquarters, we have our our processes are built on an IT platform that is too old. Sales logic, you call it, the membership things. It's a very bespoke system, and it's far too old and it needs upgraded. And I know the General Council have looked at this, and no work is ongoing in order to upgrade that membership platform. The website, for example, is built onto the Sales Logic platform, and it creates real difficulties because it's a bespoke IT system. It doesn't, and because it's an old system, it doesn't work well with any of the new IT coming through, and it's a real problem. And the longer we take, the more of a problem it becomes. But work's ongoing to try and improve that. Now, that doesn't happen overnight, but there is work ongoing. The other issue about the e-signature is that not all banks will accept the e-signature as part of the standing orders. Now, we don't have a problem. If you're a substantive member of staff, in fact, the signature is part of the process now, which is very much different. This has only changed recently, because previously we had to send up the actual signature to the civil service in order to get the subscriptions deducted from salaries. That's not now required, and that's a result of COVID and nothing else. Despite the fact we were shouting about it, management weren't prepared to move, but COVID has changed that. So what we do now is we just send them up a list of names, and so the e-signature is not needed for the recruitment of substantive staff. The problem can lie with the agencies. Now, I had a conversation with Deborah about this, and what she has said to us is that in most cases, banks will accept the standing order without an actual signature. However, there are some occasions when the banks have written, even though the bank has accepted previous ones, sometimes the bank will write back and say, we need an actual signature on this before we will start the standing order process. Or they maybe make one deduction and then they stop it because there's not an actual signature there and the actual signature is required. And then when we go back out after the fact to the person doesn't always complete it. Now, some do, but some don't.
Yeah, you're right. So, it's a bit of a process.
Yeah, so look, this has been raised. We absolutely need to get this right in order to cut down. Look, once we recruit someone, if organisers are going in and recruiting people on the day, then we expect those people to be recruited. We expect the administrative process to be quick, and certainly quicker than what it has been, and for it to be right, and that people don't fall off the end of the table. But some people are at the minute. Now, not a tremendous amount, but some people definitely are. So we are working with headquarters to try and improve that process. And I said as part of the presentation, we're looking at application forms. We're looking at an IPSA app. That's just going to take a bit of time, unfortunately. But look, it is a direction of travel, and there is commitments given to that. But some other things need to be. And look, the problem is that organisers and members don't see the problems with the current membership section or the current membership platform or the IT for the membership, and they don't see the fact that there's an awful lot of things need to sit on top of that. So we need to get that right first. And there's work going on to replace that at the minute. Now, the problem is it's not cheap, and that work is going ahead. But look, we will continue to push this, and we have been pushing it, and we've had a number of meetings, and we've got commitments from the General Secretary that this will be moved forward, but it's just going to take a wee bit of time, unfortunately.
I'm just wondering if it's just a wording issue, whether something just needs to be on the declaration, whether it needs to say, please accept this e-signature as around that.
Even we've had a conversation with them about language as well. Now, I had to go back. There are a number of changes that I need to draft up and put through the committee before we go back to headquarters on them. There's some changes we want to see to the application, the current application as well. And part of that is some of the language around the signature. You're quite right. I mean, I've seen it as well, where it says by typing in your name below, it's accepted as an e-signature, and you're confirming all the information. And if banks can accept that for people making loans and for debit cards, then why the hell can't they accept it for our members as well? So I mean, but there is work ongoing with that. It is very frustrating. But
Yeah,
Okay.
and just so you know, this is an interim measure that we're trying to get in place now as soon as possible, because we know that the IT solution is going to take a longer term
Yeah,
view.
very
But
much.
if we can make the current situation a wee bit easier and a wee bit better, we're trying to do that, trying to achieve that, so that at least we've got a smoother process until the IT can back it up. You know, so it is a long process, and it is unfortunate that it's taken so long. But I mean, this is something we've been talking about since the start, and indeed conversations that Dooley will say, you know, he's had these conversations over the past
Yeah,
number
we
of
haven't
years.
missed. I mean, they're fully
Yeah.
aware of what we want out of this process. You know, it's just a matter. It's going to take a bit of time to achieve that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
Thank you.
definitely high on the list of
Yeah, very
things,
much so.
and it is moving. I mean, that there's no doubt about it. It is moving. It's just it is unfortunately very slow process, but we will get there.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all on the membership side of things? No. Okay. Well, look, we're going to move on to mapping. It's just coming up to 11:15, so just reminding you, Dooley, you know.
No, you're quite right. No, look. Thanks, Karen. On the issue about workplace mapping, we'll have a wee run through. Some of you might know what it is, some of you might not. But look, I actually think mapping is a great exercise to do. However, if you're in a large branch or in a branch that's across multi sites, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. So again, to echo what Karen said at the start, we're not telling you that you must do this. We're saying this could be of a benefit to you. We're going to run through it quickly here, what we mean by workplace mapping. We're happy to share this documentation with you. We'll send it out to you after this. And then it's up to you whether you think it will work for you or not. I know Melanie's in a very large branch at CMS there. It would be a bit of a pain in the ass for one person to do a mapping exercise at CMS because just the sheer volume. There's other branches that are multi-sided. That can be a bit of a pain in the ass as well. So you need to make a judgment about whether it suits you or not. But what I would say is, I've done mapping before and assisted branches to do mapping in other areas. It can be really beneficial. It can really show up information that you're not aware of. It can inform your plans about organizing and recruiting going forward. So it is something that we would really recommend and to give serious consideration to doing. But at the end of the day, it's a matter for organizers to see whether if it's a benefit to them or not. But look, we'll run through what mapping is here very quickly if you bear with us. So we'll share a wee document here. So this is a form that we produced a few years ago. So bear with us in relation to this, but it provides some advice and guidance around workplace mapping and how that will inform your recruitment. I'll run through this quickly because we're going to send it out to you. So it explains there what workplace mapping is, and it really is a very effective way of examining the strengths and weaknesses of your branch. Back to Karen's point, we need to be very honest as part of where we are currently, because you can't set plans for where you want to be. You set plans for where you are and how it's going to get you to where you want to be. So it's a process for obtaining accurate and relevant information about the workforce in a very systematic way. If done properly, it can form the basis for successful union activity, including recruitment, communications, development activists, and campaigning around issues. So it sets out some of the benefits there. It explains how you can get started in relation to this. It is an ongoing process, but we're not saying it needs to be done weekly, but it is an ongoing process as part of that. What we would say is, it should be led by the organizer, but it doesn't mean that the organizer, again, has to do everything. The organizer should have overall responsibility for coordinating the mapping, but others can be there to help support and get information and to help build your form here. And slightly different you need to take a slightly different approach because you have access to your membership list. So that provides you with information about all the staff in an area who are union members. But you also need to get information about who's actually not a union member. And therefore, it used to be many years ago, for some of us of a particular age, you would have had circulation lists where it would have listed all the staff and hard copy information would have been sent round. You could have lifted information off that. More difficult now with online, and certainly with GDPR, a lot of the staff circulations are blind copied. So you really need to have a look at how you're going to get this information about where the non-members are. It makes some suggestions. As I said, this document was produced a few years ago before COVID. So we need to maybe look at that again and see exactly how best to get information on non-members. But you can look at staff lists, you know, if there is, you know, a contact list of numbers for a workplace, floor lists, if you had access to payroll information or whatever. It is a matter of trying to see how you can get your hands on the staff lists that would provide, so you can do identify who the non-members are. And the reason for that is, we'll come down to this. This is just a wee example that we have set out that we want to try and work through very quickly. By way of example, you can see on the mapping form, you have the department and the employer in the relevant NIPSA branch. On the right hand side, you have campaign 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just to write in what your objectives are before you start the mapping process, because what you want to have a think about what are the high level objectives we're trying to achieve. For example, we want to recruit more reps. So that's your objective, and then your mapping will hopefully inform where you are, and will then also inform what you need to do and where you need to target that. So if we keep that in mind, just as we go through this example, the objective for this branch is one objective that it is there to say we want to increase the number of reps we have on the committee. So we do the workplace mapping exercise. What we want to try and do is we have a list of names, and then we want to identify them by using red as an individual who is a rep or a contact, yellow for the union members, green for a member of any other union. Now, within the civil service, that's going to be very few and far between. FDA is the other recognised union, and there's very senior, low numbers on those, so it's really, there'll be very little green on it. And then just keep it white for anybody that's a non-member. What we've tried to do here, and look, you can use any term here. We've broke this up as Office 1, Office 2, Office 3, Office 4. That could be Floor 1, Floor 2, or it could be just the name of a business area within a floor. If you're working in an open plan office, it could be, and there could be 4 business areas on the one floor, so you can break it up that way. Whatever way you want to break it up, that makes it it makes it easier for you. Office number 1, you can see we have 18 workers in that area. A significant number of them are members, and we have 4 reps who are in that area. Floor 2, we have a high number of members, but we've no reps. Office 3, we have a couple of reps, but with you know, the majority of the staff there are actually non-members. And then Office 4 with very few members and with no reps. So looking at your objective is about trying to get reps on the committee. One of the things that this workplace mapping would identify is to say, actually, we have a large number of members in Office 2, and we don't have any reps in Office 2. So really, while we could get reps for more reps from Office 1 or more reps from Office 3, really we need Office 2 represented here. We need to have some means, the committee needs to have some means of engaging with those workers. So therefore, that allows you then to focus, allows you to draft up your objective being we need more reps. Say, actually, rather than go to all members, we will focus on Office 2, and we'll try to get 1 or 2 people from Office 2 to come on to the branch committee, because that will provide a better representation across all 4 areas. However, what the mapping then will also, even though it wasn't one of your objectives, what the mapping also shows up is you have very few reps in Office 4. So therefore, you might, after the fact, say, while our initial objective was only one, which was to recruit more members or recruit more reps for the committee, we actually need to do something about recruitment in Office 4. We need to try, and look, we can try and do something in Office 3. What you could do is speak to the 2 reps in Office 3 to say, here's 5 people who aren't members. Can you go and try and recruit those? But then what you could do is have a targeted campaign in Office 4 to say, actually, one of our objectives now is going to be to recruit people out of Office 4, because we've only got 4 members in there, and there's You know, there's 18 members of staff, so we really need to get more members in that area. We are missing a trick here as part of building up our membership penetration in that particular area. So what that does is, by setting that out in that way, that allows you to identify where your strengths are, which is clearly Office 1 from both members and activists, Office 2 from a member's perspective, but not from an activist. Office 3, we're okay with activists, but we really could do a bit of recruitment there. But Office 4, we really need to look at recruitment. There's no point going in there trying to get activists when you've only got 4 people. So you really need to focus on recruitment in that area. And then that allows you then to plan that out. So rather than do a recruitment campaign across all 4 areas, it allows you to target. Rather than doing a recruitment campaign for reps across all 4 areas, it allows you to target. And that then saves you time, saves you effort, and allows that whatever limited time that you have, it means it's more focused and it's more targeted. And then just if we come down, then there's a further wee bit of information there, just going through some of the points that I've said there about analysing the map, about developing what you're going to do as part of that. It allows you to then look and set out what your targets are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and it allows you then to develop a plan. And then part of the objective there is, in implementing that plan, it is not for the organizer to do that on their own. It would be for the organizer to take this information back then to the branch committee, say, I've analysed this, here's my recommendations, and then it is for the branch committee to take that forward as a whole, led by the organizer, but where the branch committee then takes on functions and takes on responsibility. Now, in week 4, we'll be talking around how you actually implement that recruitment campaign, how you go about recruiting reps, how you go about recruiting new members. So we don't need to get into that today. We'll be dealing with that in the 4th session. But this is just to set out what mapping is and how it can be used and how it can identify where your strengths are and identify where your weaknesses are and how it then can inform what your objectives are as part of any ongoing campaign. Thank you.
Okay, folks. I have to say, when I first saw about mapping, I thought, oh God, I can't be bothered with that. But having done a mapping exercise, it really, as you see there, it really does point out where the weaknesses are, and it is a fantastic tool for that purpose. Albeit a major piece of work that's required to be done, if you do decide to do it. Have we any questions about that?
Can I maybe just ask, just before we get into questions, has anyone done a mapping exercise before? And if you have, could you come in and maybe just give us your experience of whether you thought it was a good idea or whether it was actually a waste of time?
William, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Only a second. Just trying to charge my phone while I'm in my car here. Did a mapping. I think in pensions, when I was in pension service, I did a mapping exercise then at that point. Because it was a new-ish branch moving from Belfast up the Derry. It was very worthwhile, especially because we had people coming across from pension credit and people coming from what was formerly based in Windsor. I think it was Windsor House. Yeah. Windsor House. Yeah. Yeah. It's not such a long time since I've been. It was really good. Good experience. I obviously got to meet a lot more people. From that, I also was able to build we were able to build a strong committee from that as well, because there was, I think people don't want to join a committee until they're actually speak to you about it, and you speak to them properly about it and actually give them the guidance of how they can get on in the committee and what they can do, not just be a member who pays their subs, maybe takes part in votes every year or whatever like that, and comes to the odd branch meeting, but actually get involved as well. So if you give people encouragement to actually come to committee meetings, they can even try it and try and see how they feel, how they think they're going to get on with in these committee meetings, and whether it's for them or not. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people really thrived from doing that. So it is difficult. There is a lot to it, but it is a matter of getting lists. You get the membership list, and you go through it. You can break it down. I then moved over to Limavady JBO, but I work in the mail opening unit. So that is one section which within my own branch, within the own branch, there is the mail open unit. There's also then the 3 job centres that are attached to that, which is Limavady. They're not attached to the mail open unit. There's no business connection. There's no grade 7 connection, apart from its DFC. We're also over 2 different groups because of that. So within that, there's Limavady, there's Coleraine, and there's Ballymoney JBOs, which are on the UC network. And within Coleraine office itself, there's also ERD. So there is, in one branch, there is 3 different grade 7s, which is quite difficult to manage, but it is important just to continue with, or to maintain communication with those grade 7s. So to get the mapping done for that, it is tiresome maybe sometimes. That's one thing you would say, but it is beneficial. I think whenever it's not like massive leaps, but I've noticed even within the last 2 years, our branch has increased. Had decreased a sizable amount because of VES. Down to, like, I think it was maybe down to 130 at one point, and it's now sitting at over 150 in the last, as of the last membership list that I received. But that is down to encouraging, whenever we have our own branch committee meetings, we make sure that the membership and organization is a standing item on the agenda at every meeting. We have to we make sure and go and see that. But even with that, we still need to do more. One of the major things within, as it's always going to be spoken about, is agency staff. Agency workers need representation, and I know within the MOU I've recruited a couple, but it's because, and that's me speaking with them, but at a lot of whenever they've come in and they actively want to be part of a part of a union. A lot of times, especially whenever agency staff started coming into the MOU, they were actually told, actively told by their employer, whoever it was at the time, I think it may have been Grafton or one of those employers, oh, you aren't able to join a union.
I know.
That was something that they were told, and I happened to tell them and shown them an article. I think I can't remember what article it is in the UN Convention that they're entitled to join.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we'll cover some of that, William, both in communications and in week 4 next on Thursday in communications, but also on week 4 about the recruitment campaign, because we have our membership penetration in this department is around about 71% with substantive staff. Now, there's still almost 30% of people we can recruit, and I'm certainly not suggesting that we ignore that. The problem is that the penetration rate with agency workers is around about 10%. And that's where our focus has to be. Now, not be a focus for all branches, because some branches have no agency workers. But for those branches that do, we really do need to have a really sensible conversation around how do we get agency workers on board. And then the other thing we need to look at as part of that is actually the turnover of agency staff, because if you put in a significant amount of time and effort into recruiting agency workers, and then a couple of weeks later they're away and you have to start all over again with the new ones coming in, that can be extremely frustrating. But it is something that we absolutely need to do. I mean, we got some statistical information a while back where it said that in the space of about 15 months, I think it was, the department had recruited almost 1,300 agency workers, but in the same period they'd lost almost 1,000 agency workers. So actually there was only 300 additional agency workers, but the amount of time and effort in training those staff up for staff, the amount of time and effort a branch would have to put in to recruit all those agency workers for them to be lost in within a short period of time. It is difficult, and we need to have a measured approach to that. But because the penetration rate is so low in agency workers, it has to be a priority for us, and that's why it is a priority for us.
Right.
Okay. And any other questions, though?
Does anybody I mean, would mapping present a difficulty for people to do?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Look, because one of the things we would like you to do, look, off the back of this, I'm going to email you out this mapping, not the one that I've done because it's filled in. We're going to send you a blank one, okay? And look, we don't want you to do, especially the likes of Melanie there, who's a very large branch. What we don't want to do, we don't want you to do a mapping. If you can do it for your whole branch, great, that would be fantastic. But if you just pick a business area or a floor or whatever, you know, a reasonably sized area, and just sort of set it out as a map. And what we'd like to do is maybe on week 4, which will be next Thursday, if you're able to attend that, is bring your mapping document back in on that, and we can have a quick chat around that, because the mapping document does impact on what your priorities are going to be. Because if you have a lot of reps and a good active committee, then recruiting members to your committee is might not be a priority. And so therefore your campaign going forward in the autumn might just be about recruiting non-members. Whereas if you're in an area that maybe your membership penetration is quite good, but actually there's only 3 people on your committee, well then your priority will then be getting the membership activized and getting some people onto the committee. And maybe recruiting non-members is less of a priority. I'm not saying you don't do it, but it's less of a priority. So mapping will inform that. So if it's possible, and only if it's possible, it doesn't look, we're going to do this campaign in the autumn. What we're hoping to do in the autumn, without getting into too much detail on it, is we're hoping to spend maybe anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks preparing for the campaign, and then 4 to 6 weeks implementing it. So look, you'll have plenty of time to do this work and to set the priorities and for the branch to meet, etc. in the autumn. But it would be good just if you could do a wee bit and bring it back in maybe for next Thursday if you're coming, just to see what it looks like. And if you can't get it done, or you don't want to do it, then fine. There's no difficulty with that. But it would just good if you could take a wee look at that and see if you can get it done. And we'll get an email out off the back of it, and we'll share the presentation that I did at the outset, and we'll share the mapping document and get that issued out to you.
Okay, folks, any other questions at all?
Yeah.
Sorry, just on that, on the mapping exercise, I think one of the good things for it is, well, the premises officers always send out notices to buildings, and if it, depending on what way they send it out, if it comes up, no, it might be design centre, say all staff, you can click on that and then click and find out who's a member of all that list, and that gives you everybody on the building straight away. So it does.
That's good, because I mean that's one of the difficulties has always been with mapping, is about how do you get access to non-members. It you know, it can be a real pain in the ass, and people can put in a lot of time and effort to try and get that information and not get it all. I mean, on William's point, actually, there, you know, it might be easy if you have, and this is why it's the committee should be taking this forward and not just the organizer. If you know, William's working in the MOU in Limavady, if we have a rep in Coleraine, it's far easier for the rep in Coleraine to map Coleraine office than what it is for William to do it, you know, because that person has easier access to the non-members, can have a walk around the building if people are in, can ask questions locally. So it's the mapping exercise should be taken forward as a branch activity led by the branch organizer. But you know, what you want to do is try and get the information as simply and as quickly as possible.
Okay, Lucia?
I love spreadsheets. I really love them. Every exercise I have to do in work, I create a spreadsheet because, you know, because of cases to do and whatever, and it's always usually a bulk of cases. So I love spreadsheets. So I love that mapping, and I can remember many years ago mapping was you just got the 2 lists and you worked your way through them. But no, I do think that's brilliant, and obviously for Karen and myself and Tina in our branch, we'll Karen probably has the work all done already. I mightn't have anything to do.
Oh no, trust me, you've
No.
got plenty to do.
But no, I think the mapping sounds brilliant. I was wondering about the way if you're going to map your committee or map your branch, it would be good to know who's in and who's out, who works from home, that type of stuff. Could we do something like that in the mapping?
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Of course you can, Lucy. It's whatever. I mean, look, and that will inform, because part of what we're hoping to do on Thursday is looking at, because communications is critical to how you engage with members and non-members and the profile of the union, but it's also critical as part of a recruitment campaign. It's also critical as part of what the branch does. So absolutely. I mean, if we're in a different working environment now, online is so much better, has so many benefits on the one hand, but it has some downsides as well. And I mean, all the evidence as part of a recruitment process, all the evidence that other unions right across the world have done as part of analysing recruitment is that you get a better return if you walk up to somebody and speak to them face to face and say, would you like to join a union? Here's the benefits of joining a union, than any other way of dealing with them, whether it's online or whether, whatever you do. The easiest way to get somebody to join a union, it's not always easy, but the easiest way to get somebody to join a union is to ask them face to face. Now, because of where we are with hybrid working and people not being in the office all the time, that presents us a difficulty. So anything that improves communications, any analysis that the branch can do in relation to who's in and who's not in, and how you and then how the committee engage. I mean, we done a thing when I had the probation board a number of years ago. We done a thing in the probation board where we set out a plan, and what we did was we had a communication strategy for 6 weeks before we actually went to people and said, would you like to join the union? Because we didn't want to go in cold and say to those people, would you like to join? And somebody going, why would I join? You haven't spoke to me. I've been here 2 years and you haven't spoke to me yet, So we wanted to do a communication strategy before we went out and asked them. But in order to do that, you had to know how best to engage those people. There's no sense just sending an email out if people aren't reading it. So part of your mapping absolutely can be to look at your communication strategy and say, how am I going to actually engage with these members, and how am I actually going to engage with these non-members? And we'll touch on that as part of communications on Thursday, and we'll definitely be talking about that when we're doing the recruitment strategy on week 4, session 4 as well, Lucy.
That's great, Julie. Thanks for that. The other question then was in relation to the, I know we'll be doing our own branches, in relation to the 17 where there's no organisers. Is that for another meeting? Is that for another day?
Well, I mean, that is work for us. I mean, one of the things, as you'll be aware, others won't be. I mean, one of the things that the organisation and membership committees agreed to do is we're going to try and allocate those branches to a few members of the organisation and membership committee to have some engagement with and to try and provide some support to. I think certainly what I wanted to do was I wanted to get these sessions up and running to see what the response is, because we also had to be honest with ourselves on this and say we've 21 organisers. I think there's 11 have identified they can attend at least one of these sessions. We have 2 other ones that have said they can't attend any, unfortunately. But that still leaves us with 8 organisers who aren't attending any, and it still leaves us then with a further 17 branches. So there's a lot of work for us to do, but certainly what we wanted to do was to get these sessions up and running, see what the feedback is of them, and then if we need to organise another one of these or a condensed form for those people that haven't attended, then we'll do that later on in the year. But what we also want to do is to try and make sure that we can support those branches and get them to elect organisers, and that's something that we're trying to do as well. And hopefully that will be a focus for us as part of the AGM season in October, November as well, is to try and promote organisers and get more organisers elected when we get to the AGMs. I mean, we have suggested branches can't co-opt. They could send others through who weren't organised, but really we want to promote the role of the organiser, and we want to support the role of the organiser so that this becomes a priority for the committee. But as I say, we need to know where we are, and we are not where we want to be. As Karen has said, 7 years since the department's been set up, there's been no work done around organisation and membership in a structured way across the department in that time. So we're starting at a low base. We'll build on today, and hopefully we'll get better as we move forward. And this is an ongoing thing. If we need to do the campaign in the autumn, or even put the campaign off till next year, then we'll do that in order to get more people involved. But look, this is the plan where we currently are at the minute. We're working through it, but the more people come on board, the better it is. Absolutely.
And like was said earlier, you try something. If it doesn't work, you dust yourself off and try something
Absolutely,
else.
yeah.
So again, this is trial and error. I mean, it's a very big project because we've got a very big department. There's a lot of non-members out there. So there's a lot of work. But again, the organisation and membership subcommittee can't do the work. We can't set the priorities for branches to do. So that's why we need the branches to come along with us to get involved. And this is an event, and the other three coming up are all to help people to understand where we're going and why we want to do it. And hopefully they're going to come with us. Because otherwise the job is going to be doubly difficult for us when it comes to trying to have a campaign
I think
in the autumn, winter.
I think supporting that point as well is, I mean, people have to. When we haven't done this before, we're making best guesses here on the things that we think that organisers need to do and what will work and what will help. But we also need you to be telling us. Look, the mapping thing I thought was good. Or the mapping thing was bollocks. It was, we need to have an understanding from you, and as part of, we will be seeking feedback from you as we go through this process, because what we want to do is to make sure when we do this again, and we will do it again, there's absolutely no doubt we'll be doing this again. When we do it again, then we can get it right, or we can get it done better. And does this format of having 4 sessions on different days, short sessions on different days, is that the best way to do it? Would it be better doing 1 full day, 2 half days? So we'll have that conversation with you. Once we finish the sessions, we want you to give us some feedback on that. Maybe drop you out a wee feedback form or something that allows you to come back to us and say what was good and what didn't work. And then that allows us then to change what we're doing so that when the next people come in, it's better for them as well.
And the other thing is that this isn't a once and done situation as well, because we have to build on this. So this is going to be something hopefully we're going to be able to continue with over coming years. Not necessarily something we're going to be doing every 6 months or anything, but it is going to be something that we're going to look at. And again, it's building relationships, networking. I remember many years ago going out around a lot of the local offices with an SSA committee project, and we're going into offices and people were saying we haven't seen a NIPSA rep or haven't spoken to a NIPSA rep for years because there isn't anybody in their office that was an NIPSA rep and all those sort of things. So it's very much again about getting out there and talking to the branches and seeing what's happening within the branches, because there are unfortunately some branches that don't have a lot of activity, don't have a lot of reps, and there's not much going on. So again, that's part of what our priorities to build committees. But we see we've got to have a recruitment, get some people to join to then be able to talk to them about becoming reps as well. So there's a process to it, and it's a long-term process. It's not just we're gonna solve all of this in the next few weeks. Emmett.
Thank you. Julie, I just wanted to ask you just to touch on the mapping. I know it's early days yet, but and how would you, from my point of view, the mapping as regards, we're in Nussahally, we're a large open office, as you know. I walk into a room and our UC section, there may be 30 people, right? And I don't know whether they're in the union or not. So basically, I would be going to every individual person, you know, first to get them names down, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
On a personal level. Now, am I allowed to do that during the working day as union business?
Mhm.
Can
Of course
I
it is.
do
I mean,
that?
look, we have an agreement with management that we are allowed to recruit.
Mhm.
So in the same way, people get reasonable time off to go to inductions in order to deliver, you know, in the same way that you're allowed to go to committee meeting, then you get time off to, you're allowed reasonable time off in order to implement a recruitment, develop and implement a recruitment strategy. But I think what we need to look at is what is the best way of doing that? Now, one of the things we'll cover in session 4 is about implementing a campaign and engaging with all the workers, because you're quite right. I mean, you work at work, even if you have a membership list and it says, and you've got a management list and a membership list, and you've 30 names on it, there's 30 staff in an area and 20 of them are members. You have no idea who's who. You just have a list of names. But what we'll do in session 4, we'll walk through a process that allows you to go in. Now, I'm working on this on a face-to-face basis, that allows you to go in on a face-to-face basis, where we will prep you about where you walk up to a member and say, right, you know, I'm Dooley Hart, I'm a member of the NIPSA committee here, or could you just let me know, are you a NIPSA member or are you not? And then if that person says, yes, I am a NIPSA member, then you will have a script that you can then have a quick conversation with them. Remember, if you're doing a recruitment campaign and someone's a member, then you don't want to ignore that person, but you don't want to spend 20, 25 minutes with each member, because your objective is to recruit all members. So you get a script, and a quick script where you can talk to that person. You can do something with them very quickly over a minute or two, and then move on to the next person. And then if the next person says, I'm a non-member, then you have another script that allows you then to engage with that non-member, where you know before you go up, you're not going in cold to people. You know that going into that person, you're able to say, well, look, you know, is it possible, could you give me your name? If they give you your name, they're happy to talk to you. You make a record of who that is. You have a script. You then encourage them to join NIPSA. You give them the form. You do whatever you have to do, or whether it's online or whatever that is. And then what's important as part of that process is you make sure you go back to that person. And then once you finish that, you take small bites over a period of time. You keep your records up to date of who you've spoken to, who you haven't, who you've missed. Maybe someone's off on leave. Some days it lets you go back and try and pick up people that you've missed. But you do that in a planned, structured, methodical way, where you know what you're going to say before the person asks you a question or makes a comment. And in that way, some people are very reluctant to engage, to go out cold and ask people, do you want to join NIPSA? Because they haven't planned for it. There's no structure in place for it, and they don't know how to answer questions. Where what we want to do as part of what we're going to do in session 4 is to give you some assistance and some help and some props, some suggestions that will allow you to go out and talk to people face to face in a planned and structured way, and not just in a cold way. So yes, we will do, and sometimes the mapping, you know, we want the mapping to be done first because it sets your priorities, but sometimes your face-to-face work can inform your mapping as well, and that's why it's an ongoing process. But we will cover a lot of that in session 4.
Thank you.
The thing is that if you've got the map done, then you know by the name
people off as you go along.
Yes, and who's a member, who's not a member. So whenever you're meeting with them and talking to them, you can tick them off on your map that you've talked to them on that. And from that perspective, it is a very handy tool as well. Okay. Any other questions at all, folks?
Can I maybe ask a week, just if anybody wants to come back in again, especially those maybe that haven't spoken? Is anybody maybe a bit panicked or a bit scared witless at the thought of having to do what we're suggesting here? I mean, we you know, because I'd want to stress the point that Karen made at the outset. We are not here to tell you what to do. Some of these things might be helpful for you, and you might decide that some of them aren't, you know, so we're not asking you to do everything over the next 4 sessions. But is anybody panicking a bit? Or are you all content enough with what's being suggested?
Again, this is the two-way street. We need a bit of
We're
feedback
here.
to know that we're on the right track.
Yeah, we're here to help and support too. So if they do have any questions outside of this,
Yes, you can come through to any
give
of
us a
us
shout. Yeah.
as part of those conversations if you're not comfortable about raising it in front of others. But look, we have said, we said at the outset, we want people to be honest. If your committee is not functioning, then you will not, or the committee won't be criticized for that as part of this. If we know that there are branches out there that have maybe only 1 or 2 or 3 people on the committee, and it would be impossible to ask those people to do an inordinate amount of work around that. And that's why we want to provide support as part of that going forward. And the objectives for a very well organized committee with a lot of reps on it is going to be very different to somebody doing it on their own, and it's about acknowledging that difference and acknowledging the different branches, different committees are in different places on this and in different circumstances. So that's why it can't be a one size fits all on this. It has to be your strategy for your branch has to be unique to you.
And again, because there's a lot to get through here, we have to set our priorities as well as to who needs help and who doesn't need help. Because at the end of the day, we're not trying to, teach granny to suck eggs here. There are branches out there who are very, very slick, know what they're doing, and are very, very good at it. And I mean, we're not here to take that away from them. They can go and get on with it if they want to paddle their own canoe.
Absolutely.
That's grand. We're here to support the ones who need the help and want the help. And that's absolutely what we're going to do, but we're not going into any branches that don't want us to be there with them or to help them. But I mean, we're quite happy to help anybody that wants a bit of help. There's absolutely no problem about that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
all of this will be on
all of this will be on an invitational basis in relation to what your branches do. All we're doing here is putting out some information to you that we think would help if you take a look at it. That's all.
Yeah, and obviously, over the 4 sessions, hopefully, you will get something out of it, and be more confident maybe about what it is you want to do or what you want to achieve. But hopefully, you will enjoy it. Okay, well, look, folks, look, it's 5 to 12. Yes, William, go ahead. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a wider thing and has to be paid for by General Council to permit it, but there's been a real lack of any sort of promotional material that NIPSA is actually being able to. I know because of the pandemic, and there hasn't been anyone to actually do the work, do the manual work in Harkin House itself. But we are like I think like my branch has nothing left. Like we don't have any lanyards left. Don't have any of these things, and these are the sort of things that you can actually go out to even members and then use it to whenever you're speaking to non-members, whenever you're going around and saying I've got a whole pile of new stuff here, and dropping it off at their desks. All the people going, all right, I didn't get one of those, and speak to them about membership that way. That's something that we should be using, but we haven't got this stuff to hand, and I know it costs money, but I think in the long run it really is important. We have to spend that money to get that back.
Look, William, happy to take that up with headquarters. Look, we will be sending out electronic versions of posters and stuff as part of that. You've seen some of the examples in the presentation as well, and waiting on turns coming back. It is possible to get hard copies of those as well for branches that want them.
It's not so much posters. I
was just going to say that the issue about
Rito's office drinking bottle.
Yeah, the issue about lanyards and pens is not something we've raised. So we have talked about the other stuff, but I've no problem going back. And I think although it's not necessarily Terence, I have to say Terence is off for a couple of weeks now. But look, I'll raise that and see where we are on that. That's no difficulty with it.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Well, look, we're going to take a wee photograph while everybody's still here.
Yes, please. So I'm going to end the recording here. Is that okay?
Yep. Okay. That's grand. Thank you.